Welcome everyone to the info session today. So just to give you a bit of an overview of what is going to take place during the next hour or so, we are going to provide you with an overview of what LIVEMX is in general, but also wanted to go more into detail about what the funding scheme looks like, what the capacity building sessions will entail, and what you can benefit from with those. But also we want to go into a bit of more detail about the eligibility process so you can really understand whether this is applicable to you and your entity, and the application process so you can get yourselves familiar with the use survey, which we are using as the application tool, but also the components that we are requesting you to complete throughout the application. Of course, we want to leave some time for this interaction between yourselves and the consortium where you can ask specific questions that we can hope to answer, but at the same time give you additional resources that you can reach out to in the event that there are more specific questions that we can't give an answer to right now. So we'll get started so that we can have as much time as possible for that Q&A period. And we wanted to start by giving a bit of an overview about LIVEMX. You probably, hopefully, have heard about the project before. It is a project that is co-funded by the European Union, and it is supported by Music Moves Europe. And it is a 3-year-long project. And really the goal is to nurture a more diverse and sustainable music sector. And to do this, the consortium, really aims to ensure that the sector develops and strengthens its skills, abilities, processes, resources to adapt better and thrive in this industry. We foresee 3 open calls, and these 3 open calls are very much focused on 3 specific topics. These are going to be elaborated on by some of the consortium members that are here present today, but they are music export, live music venues, and then the digital circulation and engagement, which have to have a correlation with the 2 other topics, live venues and music export. So over the 3 years, there will be, and there has already been 1 open call, but in total 3 open calls. And this, again, it really aims to encourage music professionals to take a leading role in responding to the needs and the challenges of the sector. So as you can see on the screen right now, the project itself is centered on these 2 main components: the funding scheme, which aims to redistribute 4 million euros in grants, and the capacity building activities. These are a series of online webinars to support you and your entities, not just in the development of your project and your application under LIVEMX, but also aimed specifically at the beneficiaries at the selected projects through these cross-fertilization sessions, which really aims to invite all selected projects to come together, share their best practices, but also to create these synergies and promote these synergies so that the projects can benefit from each other. Of course, this is a very rigorous project, so we have to put together a very strong team to ensure that it's a successful implementation. So today, all consortium members are here present, and it's made up of 3 entities that showcase immense capacity and expertise. So I myself are here representing LIVEMX. This is a Portuguese consultancy firm with over 25 years of experience in participating in projects that aim to boost this innovation and fostering of collaboration, especially in the cultural and creative industries and sectors. We have Erica and Thibaut from LIVEDMA. LIVEDMA is a European network. It represents over 3,000 live music venues, clubs, and festivals, and this is through 20 national associations in 16, I believe, different countries. Then we have Corinne and Tamara. They are joining us from EMI. This is a nonprofit association made up of 32 national and regional music export offices from 27 countries. So it's a consortium made up of members with a vast experience, but also a vast network of stakeholders. And really our job is to ensure not just a successful implementation of our own project, LIVEMX, but make sure that we're here to support all the potential applicants and eventually beneficiaries. So now I will pass it on to the next slide. And we want to give you a bit of an overview of what this open call looks like. So the open call is live now. You can begin your application right away. So the open call is going to close on the 24th of June. So be very mindful of this deadline because we're not foreseeing any extensions to it. So right now you're participating in the first information session, and then we are going to be talking a little bit about the 3 Meet the Expert workshops that are going to take place. These are dedicated workshops, one per topic, where you can find out more about the project and its topic. The second open call is already benefiting a lot from the learnings and the practices that we have learned from the first open call, but there will also be a third open call opening in November. So be very mindful of the timelines and ensuring that you apply to the one that's most convenient for your project time frame. So what did the first open call look like? It was a very successful, but also very competitive first open call. We had 249 eligible applications that we received. So we have a bit of a breakdown in terms of what those applications look like. As you can see from the graph on the left side of your screen, we had 107 applications that directly targeted the music export topic, and then very close number for live music venues. So a total of 94 applications directly targeting live music venues. So as you can see then on that same graph, 48 applications touched on the digital circulation and engagement topic, and then it was almost an even split between the subtopic of those. A vast majority of those applications requested the strand A, so the 60K budget strand, with 165 applications requesting that amount. So this trend really just reflects the resources that entity is foreseeing the project requiring. What we thought it was great is that 32 different countries were represented through these applications. So it ensured that we did reach a vast geographical balance through our dissemination and communication aspect. And 85% of those applicants had not led a EU project in the past 3 years, and 63% were actually not involved in a EU project in the past 3 years. Why are we, emphasizing these numbers? Is that we really want to make sure that we reach those entities and those organizations that may not feel that they have the experiences or the resources to actually implement a EU project. We want to make sure that LiveMX can actually reach those individuals and provide that confidence that they can indeed apply and be successful in the implementations once selected. So what this resulted in was 25 projects selected as part of the first open call. 11 of those projects are live venue specific, 10 within music export, and then we have 4 projects in the digital circulation and engagement topic, and then two projects within that group is live music venues targeted, and 2 within the music export subtopic. So we have provided a provisional list of the selected projects on our website, and this week we will be launching the official page with the projects that were selected with a whole lot more detail, with a project abstract, their social medias, channels. So feel free to go on there and learn a little bit more about the projects that were selected. I'll now pass it on to Tamara, who's going to give a bit of an overview about the funding scheme.
Thank you very much, Patricia. A small update since the last info session. We are now having 33 members from 28 countries. Sorry for that, but we need this clarification for the sake of documentation. So yes, indeed, funding schemes. As already Patricia mentioned, we are having 3 different thematic areas that we are trying to cover, and indeed we did that with the first call. So it's music export, live venues, and digital circulation in connection either with music export or live venues. It means 4 million euros of funding for all 3 calls over those 3 years, not even 3 years. 3 categories, like I've mentioned, 90 projects in total, and 3 open calls. We are in the second one, and indeed we are having 3 different amounts that participants can applying. 60K, 40K, and 20K. As Patricia mentioned, most of applicants so far, they're aiming to receive the biggest grant. We highly encourage you to maybe think about also those two other financial strands, and as we are indeed missing them, and at the end of the project we must make sure that it's balanced. So maybe a small tip during the presentation, if you are considering different options, maybe you should go for it. Regarding capacity building, which is a big part of the project itself as well, now you are actually participating in that. So next to info sessions that we are holding one today, we're also having meetups with experts, and here we're highly encouraging you also to double check next week and following one and meet with those who will maybe give you more insights about the thematic area that you might choose. So either export or live venues or digital circulation. And maybe there will be more space also to answer to more thematic specific questions. Here it's more general, just to give you an overview. And then the second phase of the capacity building is only for the selected projects. So here we are really trying to create networking activities that will let them exchange further. So we believe that added value of this project is also the fact that we are creating a community of people who will be then on some point exchanging and also building upon of that. Why should you apply? Well, I believe that you are already convinced if you are here, but let's try to convince you more. And that's something that we are very much proud of. And what we also believe that distinguished LIVEMX from other grant schemes. So first of all, we are funding up to 100% value of the project, which is very unusual. So in most of the cases, you need some contribution. Here, we understand that sometimes, especially if you are creating a totally new initiative, needed, but new, it means that you might be not in a position to bring in additional 20 or 30% even. So that's the very first thing that we believe to distinguish that. And also it might be then even more tempting for you to apply. Reporting process based on the lump sums means that we are not expecting from you to deliver all financial documents. The most of the cases, we just want to see the results of the project, and that's what we are also aiming to. We are oriented on the results, and the main proof for us that project was delivered was that actually was implemented. And as long as we see that, and as long as you are doing that, we are not trying to make it more complicated for you. As we all know, we're busy people, and we don't want to make you even busier. So here it's simplified to the extent. To the possible extent, because of course it's public funding, so we cannot avoid reporting itself, but yet so we are trying to make it as user-friendly and applicant-friendly as possible. And project covered for up to 12 months. You have a year at most to implement it, to deliver the report and finalized, which seems to be doable, reasonable for most of the project so far, and we believe that is also a very good period. In terms of eligibility, it's also simplified again to the extent that it was possible. So first of all, you must cover one of thematic areas, and that's something that you cannot avoid. Please make sure, especially when you're applying for digital circulation, that you keep in mind that you cover digital circulation plus music export or live venues. That's important for us to make sure that here you understand that you need to be in one of those areas at least. Valid only for legal entities. Again, we need to make sure that public money are provided to someone who has legal personality and can perfectly show some track record. But we are not very picky, so as you will see within the application form, we are not asking for those who are on the market for many, many years. But yet, if you're a freelancer, here it will be very difficult for you. So only those who are having any kind of, even solo property, are eligible, but not natural person individuals. Mono-beneficiary, we believe that also it simplified the process itself, because there is one organization which is applying, which is signing the agreement, and then one organization which is reporting to us. Yet we understand that it's very hard to implement projects by yourself. So we understand that at some point you can subcontract, you can have others who will be working with you and for you within this project, but still in terms of communication with us and exchange of formal documents, that there's only one organization that is formally applying. And of course, from one of the Creative Europe countries. not European Union, but Creative Europe. That's a few more. Please make sure that you meet those criteria, but for most of you, it will be easy. And moving smoothly to music export priorities, a very important part of the application process is that actually was the preparation of it. We conducted Delphi method research process when we investigated, and we were trying to find out what are the main challenges for each of those thematic scopes that we would like to address with projects that will be funded through this scheme. And after consultation, few rounds, long discussions, we put together 3 main topics that we believe that should be covered. It's developing music export for co-creation. And here, what we are aiming for is just to design efficient and effective approaches to cross-border co-creation, but also business development opportunities accessible to artists, professionals, and producers from all over Europe. That's the first challenge. Then promoting new music and artists abroad in an innovative way. Here, we are aiming to find new and innovative ways around the current standard paths to promoting artists and repertoire abroad. And then developing professional networks and understanding of new markets. Here, I believe that this one seems to be quite understandable. We are looking forward to see new possibilities, new opportunities to build networking possibilities for European musicians, professionals, artists, but also understanding of new markets means having a concrete and precise scheme how you can open new market for music export, European music export. That's all from my side. I will pass to Erika now.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so I'll be speaking about the live venue priority or macro topic. This is intended for live music venues or live music venue associations to apply. It's not really intended for other types of organizations. So you really have to provide solutions for live music venues. And we believe that this is done directly by the venues themselves or by associations of venues. What you have to do here is develop a project that addresses one of the 3 challenges that you see on screen. So the idea is that you provide a new solution or methodology or action that can give a solution to one of these 3 challenges. With the artistic circulation in Europe, what we want to see is projects that stimulate circulation of artists, especially those that have a bit more challenge to reach different corners of Europe. We want to see that this circulation also results in artistic diversity. And another very important thing is that projects find ways to mitigate the financial risk of programming artists that are less known. So this is what we try to see with the first challenge. The second challenge is self-explanatory in a way, but we want to see projects that develop ecological solutions for live music venues. That would mean we want to see projects that can find ways to reduce the carbon footprint of live music venues and also their impact on the environment, and in a way that are financially viable too, because that is, I think, one of the main issues that we find in venues. And lastly, we want to see also projects that develop new audience strategies. This can be done through community building initiatives, that can be done through audience development programs, and also projects that attract new audience segments. Like, for example, if you target very young audiences to go to your venue, that could be some way of doing it. You have to choose one of these challenges. Of course, if it covers many, that's okay, but we want to see it very clearly, the one that you have selected, so that it's easy for us to understand in a way. There's a second thing, apart from, well, just to finish with the live venues, we want to see 2 small aspects as well, is that either you reinforce human resources of the live music venues, that we find ways to invest in new staff or in the staff that you already have, that you can develop maybe training programs, or that you provide peer learning and capacity building among live music venues. I think that is it for live music venues. We can go to digital priorities. As I said before, this is easy and difficult to understand at the same time, but if you go for this strand, what we want to see is projects that target either music exports or live music venues, but that the solutions that they use are using digital technologies or related approaches. So you will still be working on a project that has that is finding solutions to the challenges of music export that we've seen a moment ago, or the challenges of live music venues. The only difference is that you'll be using digital solutions to target them. And this can be done well through adapting and testing solutions that you already have, maybe. It could also mean providing training programs to use this type of digital technology that you may already have. Or it can be also, of course, developing a new one that would be even more interesting. Or lastly, to propose formats that develop a deeper understanding of the challenges that we see nowadays in the music sector in general, but through digital technological approaches. And I think we can go, this is a tricky one. I think we might have a few questions of this. In any case, I would recommend that anyone who has doubts either on the specific priorities of export, live music venues, or digital, or that you have doubts about European added value, that you go to the Meet the Expert sessions, because we will be able to see in much more depth and also give specific examples of each thing. But what we want to see with European added value, in essence, is that your project has a capacity to go beyond your national borders, or of course, regional or local levels as well. This can be done in two main ways. Either you collaborate, though it's mono-beneficiary. What we mean with that is what Tamara very well explained. It's not that you do it alone necessarily, though you can, but what you would be signing the contract as a main beneficiary yourself, your organization, but you can, and we actually think it's a good idea to involve other organizations. So one of the two ways of reaching this European added value, that is an evaluation criteria, by the way, that is very important to meet, is that you have joint collaboration activities during the development of the solution that you are using in the project, or that the solution that you develop, maybe by yourself alone, is easily transferable and scalable to other countries. So it has to be of use for other countries, and that you have to already, during the project, have some kind of strategy to start this transferability. So what we want to look for is projects that have a transnational dimension, either in its implementation or in its dissemination and communication of the tool or solution that you develop, that is of impact and interest for different countries, that you can use it in different countries. And yeah, basically you have to ask yourself, what countries will benefit from the project, either directly or indirectly. So I think that can be a bit of the summary, but I encourage you to sign up also for the other sessions, the capacity building sessions, where we can explore this in more detail with specific examples for each of the three strands. And now I pass the microphone to Patricia again.
Thank you, Erica. Okay, so now we're actually going to go and take a look at the website where all the documentation about the application is, and we're going through the application form itself. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'll just need a bit of a nod when you guys can see it. Everyone can see my screen? Okay, perfect. So on our website, you have all the information that's been presented here so far, perhaps in a bit more detail as well. And where you're going to find this is under the Participate subheading, where you see Open Call for Projects. You have a tutorial video, which is actually going to be updated to really reflect this second round of application. So that's going to be launched this week. You have a bit of an overview of whether you are eligible. So ask yourself these questions before you actually begin to submit your application and draft your application. And then you have the information specific to the second call for projects. One of the key documents that you're going to find here is the guideline. So it's going to open a PDF document. And what you're going to find in these guidelines is an overview of LIVEMX, but also an overview of the topics and the challenges that we have presented here today. You're going to find out about whether your entity itself is eligible and what requirements you have to meet to showcase that eligibility, as well as the activities. You're going to have a breakdown of the budget and the strands. And please do note that the strands, they're a fixed amount. So you're going to see a little bit later on the budget section of your application, but these are fixed grant amounts. So if you request Strand A for 60K, you have to showcase how your project is actually going to spend or, allocate those 60K euros. You're going to have a brief timeline, so be very mindful of the deadline, which is on June 24th, and then a bit of an overview of when and how the evaluation is going to take place. Do carefully read the evaluation as a selection process. We're trying to be as transparent as we can about how that takes place and how the selection is actually done. So there is a pre-relevancy screening. So this is really going to be about your relevancy and your abstract of your proposal. So make sure you hit all the key points in there, because that is the first thing that the evaluators will take a look at. How the point system and the criteria is done. So have a look through, make sure that you are reading this as you complete your application form, how the ranking take place. And this also explains the bonus points that it is attributing. So as we mentioned, one of the key things that we are hoping and promoting to do is that we want to make sure the applicants that perhaps don't have as much experience or opportunities in the past are receiving these bonus points. So have a look through to make sure that you fully understand how the ranking takes place. And then we give a bit of an overview about the contract signing phase. Not the most important information at the moment, but also good to understand the kind of documentation that you'll be requested if and when your project is selected, and how the payment arrangement is done. You also have a project implementation section. And as Samantha mentioned, your project can run up to 12 months, but if you find that the time frame is more suitable for a shorter time frame, your project can have 10, 11, or 12 months. Do know that this time frame is really the entire project life cycle. So this includes the initial planning and kickstarting your project to the actual execution of the activities that you are presenting in your application, but also any conclusion or follow-up activity. So really the time frame that you select encompasses all of this. And you have an image that kind of illustrates these time frames and when you can start and finish your project. Your activities have to take place during the time frame. Your costs or your expenses have to take place during this time frame. So this is something that you should really fully understand and make sure that you pick the one that's most suitable. So this is all found again in the guidelines. They're up on our website. So please do carefully review those before you actually start your application. So now we go into our application. So the application form is online. It's an online platform through the youth survey. And it's quite a long application because we want to get as much information from you about your project. That being said, it's not an application that you have to sit and do it all in one go. There is an option for you to save your application as a draft. So before we actually begin going through the sections, I just want to highlight this button on the right-hand side of the screen. At any point during the application, whether you have completed it all and you want to make sure that you have some time to review it at a later date before submitting, you can click Save as a Draft. What this will do is actually generate a link. So this is your link only. It's a personalized link. You save it on your laptop, whatever tool you are using. You open it by clicking on this link again, copy and pasting it into your browser, and it'll open your application as you left off. So this is an important feature because we understand that at times you can be expected to sit through and input all the information. You also can't expect to sit through, input all the information and submit it right away. You might need some time to review it. So please take advantage of this draft option if needed. So let's actually start going through the application form. The first thing that we want to iterate is that the application needs to be submitted fully in English. However, we're not necessarily going to be evaluating your application and the content based on the quality of your English. We understand that English is not everyone's first language, and you're not going to be evaluated on whether there's a spelling mistake or whatnot. We do encourage you to use online translation tools as needed, but don't feel discouraged about the fact that you have to submit the application in English because we're not evaluating your language skills whatsoever. So the first section that we ask is information about your entity, so basic information. A key thing is that you have to input the date of legal registration. This is something that will be validated at a later point if your project is selected through legal documentation. And make sure that you understand that to be eligible, you must present an entity that's established for at least 1 year before the application submission date. So this is an actual eligibility criteria that you have to be mindful of. We ask that you provide 2 references or projects which demonstrate your track record. And we also, again, ask you to reflect on your involvement in European funded projects. What this will do is that if you select yes to having led or been part of a European project, it's going to ask you a bit of follow-up questions, asking you how many you've been part of and under which program. This is just so that we have a bit of an understanding of your experience. And again, this is directly tied to that bonus point attribution. We then ask that you identify a main contact. So this is the individual that the consortium members can reach out to at some point during the application to find out more about your entity or your actual submission. But this is also the individual that will receive the results of your application. So just be mindful of that when you are inputting these information on here. We then go into the actual project description and the technical aspect. Again, basic information about the title, which topic you're covering, and just reiterating what Tamara mentioned, if you select digital, you will be asked mandatory to select one or the other, either music export or live music venues. So be mindful of that. We then ask for a short abstract. And again, this should really include what challenge your project is addressing, the specific objectives, and the activities that will take place. You have 4,000 characters. One of the things that I want to mention is that at times this text box is not going to correct any spelling mistakes. We encourage you to use a Word document or a word processing software, input your information there, and then you have the ability to copy and paste it into these text boxes here, but do be very mindful of the character limit. Okay, so then we go into the relevance section. So this is relevant to the relevance criteria. So if you go back to the table on the guidelines, you can see the breakdown in points, and those are, you'll see the synergies with the questions being asked. So you must detail how your project addresses a selected challenge. It details how your project is innovative, creative, new, or experimental. And again, the famous European added value of your project. Again, we do have an explanation here on how you can explain this, so do take your time to really reflect on this component, because it is, again, an evaluation component. We then want to know a little bit about your project design. So your project activities and the timeline of those. Again, keeping in mind that your project timeline is from the preparation to the actual final production and implementation of your project, the direct results of those activities and how those will achieve your main objective, and how your project is inclusive and diverse. And in this question, we're specifically asking how you and your strategies make sure that it involves individuals of various backgrounds, and that they are engaged in all aspects of your project. So again, we do have a bit of explanation in some of the questions that we find could be more tricky or a bit more difficult to provide an answer. And then we'll also provide your contact information for at any point you have issues with that. Then we ask about the project management, and this is about the team and your entity. So you should demonstrate the professional and administrative capacity of your team and what kind of processes and methods you will use to make sure that the project is implemented successfully, but also with an effective workflow and a high quality implementation. And here, again, we're all again asking about the diversity and inclusivity, but this is of the team that's actually implementing the project. This is the project team. We then go into project impact. So how does the results of the project address the challenges, and what are the mid and long term impacts of this? We ask that you provide us a bit of an overview of your communication strategy and plan. So how are you going to reach your targeted audiences and who those are, as well as what you expect and how you expect the results to be used after the project concludes, so after your project timeframe. And this can be, you know, how your entity will continue to use its results, or how those can be used by other stakeholders and audiences. We then, again, just going back, we go back and ask what you think the time frame that is most appropriate is. This is an estimate. We can, at one point during the contract signing phase, go back to this and reflect on whether you need more or less time, but this gives us an idea of your project timeframe, and you must select one. And then we go into the budget forecasting and planning. And so keep in mind that we've tried to simplify this as much as we can, while at the same time understanding that we do need some detail in how the budget and amount and the grant that's going to be allocated to you will be used. So you must select the grant amount, and this cannot be changed at the point after the application. So if your project is selected and we begin the contract drafting process, you will not be able to change this amount. So be mindful of that. So you will select which grant amount is more suitable for you. And then you must complete this table, which gives us a bit of a breakdown per budget heading, and you must provide us with an amount. So one of the things that I want to let you know is that this input here should be whole numbers. So you don't need to use commas, no periods. You don't need to give us detail to the point of cents. Just give us a general idea of how you're allocating this. So I'm going to do a bit of an estimation here, and hopefully my math skills are on point to do this count. So if we allocate 15,000 for staff, we allocate 5,000 for subcontracting, so that gives us 20K. So we're gonna put another 10,000 for equipment, and now I'm really gonna struggle in my math here. So, and then I'm gonna do another 20,000 for other goods, works, and services. So I've distributed the 60K here, and what this application form will do is it will actually give you the sum at the bottom of the screen here. So this is automatic. One thing that you have to keep in mind is that this amount must equal the strand. If there's any discrepancies, this may deduct you points in the formulation of your application. So it should give you the same amount. And again, these can be general idea. One thing that you will have to keep in mind is that these numbers must then be explained in this text box here. We don't need a lot of detail. We don't need specific details, and I'm going to, you know, purchase this, this, and that, or we don't need that level of detail, but we need to understand the rationale of allocating X amount for equipment. What are you going to be spending? Why is this equipment beneficial? Okay, this amount for staff. What does your team look like, and how are you allocating that staff to do? What is a subcontracting? What are you going to be subcontracting, and you know, how is that impactful and beneficial for the project? So give us a brief breakdown of the expenses, explain the rationale of that cost, and demonstrate why that's successful. That's needed for the project success. Again, whole numbers, no commas, no periods. Make sure that this number here, which is automatically calculated, matches the strand that you're applying for. And keep in mind that once you select the strand, you won't be able to change it. And this strand, it's a fixed grant amount. So this is the amount that you will receive in the form of a lump sum. So you must show that how you will execute that amount. You then carefully read the declarations, make sure you select yes to all of them. Of course, if you have read, understood, and accepted them, you will have to select yes for you to submit the application. I won't do it now because obviously we haven't actually filled out any application, but once you actually submit the application, you're going to receive a contribution ID. So this is, again, a personalized number. It's your ID to your application. And in the event that you need to reach out to us about any specific component of your application, you must give us that code so that we can identify you. This contribution ID, if you are selected, is going to be the identifier throughout the whole project. It's the crucial number, so make sure you save your application in a PDF, which once you submit, it'll give you that option, and save your contribution ID for future reference. If you have any questions, if you need any support, if you're unsure if that your application was successfully submitted, feel free to reach out to us through the dedicated inbox, general@livemx.eu, and we'll be able to help you with that. So this is a very brief overview of the application form. Again, this week we're going to put out an updated information and tutorial on the application form with a bit more tips. But we're hoping that this was a good introductory overview that was somewhat helpful.